I want to bring Robert in from our Manhattan studios. And Robert, with the developments that moved along, and it's not uncommon that sometimes some of my friends in media might put out premature information, but it seems more than a few got it wrong. To make it clear for people joining us later who heard conflicting reports, there is not a person in custody right now. We're going to hear obviously the details from the FBI themselves, but as we understand it, there were breakthroughs and major developments in the case today, but this is by no means a done deal. They have a lot of legwork still ahead of them, right?
That's right. I think, you know, we have so much media right now in Boston, and, you know, half the country's focus in terms of media is there, and everybody's up there. And even with Homeland Security, you know, everybody from Washington is up in Boston right now and working very hard, you know, not only putting together information from the crime scene, but also putting information from some of the marathon runners, some of the spectators, and people who are close by who are taking pictures and with their phones and all their social media that they're using right now. They're collecting all that data, putting it all together, and today was a very good day in terms of the progress that they made, not only in terms of editing these enhanced videos that they were able to collect from individuals, but also taking the CCTV from the stores, taking other video from the media that was there, and starting to compile it. Now they're getting a much better picture of what happened in the hours prior to the explosion. And these leads are very good, and this is what we're starting to see. There's some, you know, obviously some leads that the agents are going out looking at. Search warrants are being executed. People are being looked at. So I think it's starting to come together.
Hey, Robert, could you explain for our audience and for me as well, while certain of the published reports have been contradicted by the authorities, there seems to be some consensus that the security cameras in front of the Lord and Taylor in Boston, right on that route, really have provided some breakthrough where they've been able to see, and I think we'll get confirmation later tonight, that an individual clearly put down a bag, the duff bag as Matthew described here, or that bag, the canvas bag, excuse me, with those pressure cooker, at least one. And then he went to the phone. Talk about why it's so important, if they could timestamp when a phone was used, how that then could help them triangulate not only where the guy was, what he did, but really connect a lot of dots. Talk about, we hear this term triangulating a phone call. Talk about what that really means.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just showing that this was the trigger for the bomb. And if they can put together the person who dropped the package along with, you know, a connection on the phone, identifying that cell number, taking a look at the number called, the pieces will come together very clearly. But keep in mind, this isn't just about one camera. It's not just about one individual. It's really about looking at it from all different angles. And not only the Lord and Taylor shop, but also the banks that have the ATM machines and the CCTV, and also some of the loading docks and some of the other retail stores on the street. There's so many CCTV cameras that were used that they can start to backtrack and identify this individual going right down the street, hopefully backtrack him all the way to a car. And that's the idea, but it takes a long time to be able to go through each video, go in reverse, go to the next location, take a look at that CCTV, go back one more block or a half a block to the next available camera. And that's exactly what's happening right now. That's why it takes so long to put this together.
Yep. I want to bring in for a minute from Boston, Andrew Whitman, who's been covering this story for us on the ground right now. And Andrew, any word yet on when we're expected to hear from that press conference originally scheduled at 5 o'clock with the feds? Do we have an idea when we're going to hear more and why it was postponed?
We don't, Rich. We do know why it was postponed, but we don't have any idea yet as to when it has been scheduled. First, we were told it was postponed indefinitely. And then just around 5:15, we got an update from an FBI agent who said it would be at some point tonight. Officially, it was postponed because of evacuations across the city today. The federal courthouse in Boston, along with a neighboring hospital, were evacuated briefly. I believe a suspicious package that was found. But that was hours ago, and the all-clear has since been given. So that really shouldn't be impacting the decision as to whether or not to hold this press conference. Not sure what you've been able to communicate with folks, but we know that the photo identification widely reported from the surveillance camera and the telephone usage that apparently was recorded there. One thing that we're still waiting to find out from officials here is if they have a positive photo ID of a suspicious person or a possible suspect, why haven't they gone to the public and released that photo for the public's help in tracking down that person if that person is not in custody or if they do not have somebody that they're already questioning? So that's one of the many unanswered questions that we have here, Rich, in what has been an absolutely chaotic day across Boston. That's it from downtown Coakley Square. Let's send it back to you in the studio.
And hopefully we'll be joining you again very shortly when that press conference begins, because like Andrew said, so many questions right now. Speak for a moment, if you would, Matthew, as to why the investigators, and by all accounts here, with so many different agencies, they're actually working in a rather cooperative, as we understand, there's no stovepiping going on, they're all sharing intel, but why they wouldn't want to put a name out there or a picture. There's two, I guess, schools of thought here. The more you put it out there, the more you have more sets of eyes to find the person, but also you're tipping off the person what you know, and if you don't know their whereabouts, it make it that much harder to find them.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories and possibilities. Obviously, the investigators know exactly what they're doing. There's also something to consider that in law enforcement, we call it the +1. So we don't know. This attack occurred on Patriots Day in Boston. We don't know if there's a group of people planning more attacks. We don't know if by putting information out that may limit a lead to prevent something else from happening. There's so many reasons why they wouldn't put it out there. Obviously, they're looking out for the best interest of our country. So if they're not putting that information out there, it's for a very good reason.
And you can argue, Dominic, that misinformation put out there by the media can complicate things. Now, it's a tough business. I'm not trying to oversimplify this. If you get from a source what you believe to be reliable information, it's a reliable source here, people go with it. And it's not always right. But in this case, there's a lot of people with a lot of explaining to do, because this was a big one.
At the end of the day, there may be some people in the news business that may end up losing their job over the reporting that's come out of Boston. Law enforcement has a tough job to do, as we all know, in piecing this thing together. It's not an easy job. But on your point, they don't want to tip off. I'm sure they may have, and this is only speculation, they may have an identification, but they don't want to tip that off yet. They may be standing outside the person's door. We don't know. Law enforcement is very good at what they do, but the reporting, some of it, not all organizations, has been suspect, and it's not a good day. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, in terms of when you're not at the 1 yard line here, but you have your first big break in this kind of an investigation, how troubling or dangerous is it if information in bits and pieces gets out there before you're ready to execute it?
Well, look, I mean, you know, that's probably one of the reasons why we're not seeing a press conference this afternoon. There's obviously some good, solid information here that Homeland Security, the FBI have. And look at just some of the cases that have taken place over the past 10 years domestically, and take a look at what we've done when we've identified a suspect. Remember, you know, one of the things that law enforcement always tries to do is identify the entire group of people who are involved. They want to identify, is there a conspiracy? Was there one individual? How far does it go? Is it, and they want to be able to really feel comfortable when they make that arrest that they've identified everybody humanly possible. And sometimes I've seen here in New York and in other cities across the country when we've had domestic cases where we actually put that individual under surveillance. So we have time to be able to see where he's going, who he's meeting with, what he's talking about, what contacts he's making, and we take advantage of that time as long as we can. And that may be the case here. We don't know. But if you take a look at other cases, even the Times Square bomber, if you remember, he was put under surveillance. He was identified. So this is a very fluid, it's a very active investigation. We're not only working with all of our counterparts here in the U.S. in terms of security and law enforcement, but even as we speak, I'm sure that we're dealing with sources and contacts in other countries that might be able to share and give us some helpful information depending on who this individual is.
Thank you very much, Robert. And again, we should be hopefully getting more information as the evening goes on. Robert Stang, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure, Richard.
And let me just set the stage, everyone, for what we have tonight, because it's been a huge day of news here, not just with the break in the case here. And again, we're hoping for more in the way of details from that press conference that is scheduled up in Boston, that the FBI will hopefully be, connecting some of these dots for us. But we're also, on the subject of the bombings, going to be showing you both some of the heartbreaking stories from some of these victims, and the third fatality was identified today. But we're also going to be showing you some of the heroes, including a doctor from our region who literally was a volunteer there and sprang into action and saw things that even as a lifelong practitioner of medicine, he's never seen before, and he'll tell you firsthand the experiences he's seen there. And then on Capitol Hill, unbelievable, to put it politely, and regardless of your feelings on gun control in this, if somebody had told you more than 118 or so days ago that we wouldn't get a bill out of the Senate on a background check, you would have thought that was crazy. But in fact, that is a reality out of Washington today, and you had a very angry president who spoke just less than an hour ago. We'll be bringing you some of that. So a lot more coming up here. Please stay with us. RFL just getting started. We'll be right back.
It was chaotic. People were being pushed out of the way, scrambling, running with the police. People were hiding under buses. It was just panic.